Please do subscribe, like, and turn on bell notifications to be notified of my future uploads. Hello, and in this video we're going to be making our character do the jump. So let's get straight into it. Now, one thing you need to know is that when you jump, you do move up, and this green line is what we call the y-axis. So if I were to select this green line, or if I were to select my player in the hierarchy, hit W, you should see these two handles, one for the x-axis, which is used for left and right movement, and one for the y-axis, up and down. So we need to edit the y-axis for our player to move up. So let's get straight into the coding. So I'm gonna head over to Visual Studio, and I'm gonna create a new method called jump. And it's giving me an error because the method has not been created. So I'll create a new private void jump. There we go. And now we want to check if we press anything that has to do with the jump, like space. So instead of doing if input dot get key down, there's another method on input called get button down, and this takes a string of the button name, and in Unity it's defaulted to capital J jump. And now if I were to head over into Unity, hit edit, project settings, input manager, you should see the axes. And now when we're saying get button down jump, what it's gonna do is it's gonna check. It's gonna go to the input manager setting. It's gonna search for the string that you've given, which we've given jump, and it's gonna check which button is related to jump. So there's the positive button, which is space, and there's no other button because on a keyboard what you usually use for jump is space. And horizontal is left, right, A, and D, and that is what we did here. Horizontal is always going to be A, D, or left and right. So let's get that out of the way. So we're going to say if input.get button down jump. Then we want to add, just the same way we added velocity to our player. Instead, we want to add it on the y-axis, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new serialized field, private float jump force. You can default it to whatever you would like. I'll default it to 10F. Now let's go back all the way down here, and here we're gonna create a new vector 2, velocity to add, and we set that equal to a new vector 2. And here we're gonna say we don't want it to change on the x, so we want to leave the x to be whatever it is, so 0. Or here you can pass in rb.velocity.x, but that will give different behaviors. I think 0 for our type of platformer game should be fine. And here we're just gonna have to pass in jump force. And now we're creating this, we're initializing this variable, but we're not using it anywhere. So we can just say rb.velocity equals velocity to add. And boom, this should really be all that we have to do for jumping. If I wait for it to import, if I were to hit play, and if I were to hit whatever button was shown in our project settings, which was space, you can see we go really high. And the problem is, 1, we go really high, and 2, we can jump as many times as we want until we go off the screen. So let's fix one of those problems. The other problem will be the topic of the next video. So we don't want our player to literally be so airy. So what we can do is we can change the gravity of our game. So what we can do is head over to edit, project settings, head over to physics 2D, not physics, and instead of using gravity to be minus 9.81, I'll leave it to be somewhere around minus 100. And now if I were to leave this, hit play. That might be a little too much. Let's just change that. Minus 100, let's leave it to be minus 80. I do think that is fine. And that is a nice jump. Obviously, if you want, you can have rid of the player and you can change its jump force from 10. I can put it to something like 20. If I hit play, as you can see, that's a nice jump and he falls in a decent way, in a very snappy way. Yeah, and I think I like this. In the next video, we will be fixing the ability for that player to like infinitely jump. So yeah, I'll see you there.